Hello, this is Peter Bell, and it's my pleasure to share a recording with Mr. Mike Blady, CEO of Golden Ridge Resources. This recording was made August 9th, 2018.
We're about two-thirds of the way through our program now. We've been submitting assays basically on a weekly basis. Whatever we have prepared kind of goes to the lab, and the lab's been fairly good at turning around stuff this year. We've only started submitting about 3.5 weeks ago, so they're on about a 3-week turnaround time. So we're just putting together the first results for our first drill hole, which was drilled in the Williams Zone. The Williams Zone is obviously our copper porphyry target that we discovered last year. We took some in situ samples, did a ground mag survey. So now we're drilling that target aggressively this year. I believe by the time we finish this year's program, we should have 6 holes into that target. And we're really trying to test the kind of the size, structure, the geometry of it, and get a really good handle on what it's doing. With the regular core logging, we're also doing TerraSpec, we're also doing XRF and MagSus as well. We're using orientated core, so we're trying to get as much information on this porphyry as possible.
Yep.
And really the big thing is trying to determine whether or not it coalesces at depth with other porphyries in that valley, and whether it's connected to the lower alteration zone, the upper alteration zone, the boiling zone, the other high-grade gold targets that we're also drilling this year. So that's really our big question right now. And one of the things we've done also is we've done a number of soil samples down in the bottom of that valley, kind of linking up with the Hank soils that were kind of instrumental in the discovery of the Williams Zone there, and trying to see, does the copper go to the other side? Does that anomaly run on to the epithermal side? Is there elevated concentrations of zinc lead, which would kind of suggest being distal to a larger porphyry system? So we have those soils as well, and we're waiting results on that, because all the old historic soils, they weren't assayed for copper, funny enough. They were just looking for gold. They did some selective zinc and lead ones, but they never assayed for copper. So we have all the historic soil data, but don't have the mineral that we're interested in that data. So
you'll be redoing those soil lines yourself?
Yeah, so those have already been done, and they're in the lab. Yeah,
Great.
So those have been done.
And
also,
soil work can be tricky too, right? So I'm glad to hear you doing it yourself in a quality QA/QC.
Yeah, it can be tricky. Luckily, we have a few really experienced guys that really know what they're doing. We've looked at kind of a lot of places you can get kind of smearing of the soil distribution depending on the glaciation in the area, things like that.
Yeah.
Because of the valley we're in, and significant amount of erosion that takes place there, that effect seems to be fairly limited on the Hank from the soils that we have collected and the data we have collected over the last few years. So we're fairly confident we'll get some good data from this survey. So we're anxiously waiting on that.
The bornite at surface that you found last fall, that was just kind of shocking, really, I thought.
Yes, and it was very kind of fine-grained, disseminated bornite. It was also hosted in the veins. So, bornite is normally a very good sign. It signals that you're close to the center of a porphyry normally. So very exciting. Also with that, which was also equally exciting, is no pyrite. and relatively low chalcopyrite in those initial samples. So again, that kind of shows that we had vectored in fairly close to the heart of that system. If you go across the creek to the lower alteration zone, upper alteration zone, the boiling zone, we can get 40-50% pyrite in the rocks that we're drilling. So just goes to show the zonation in that system, and that we are kind of zoning in on that high temperature core, hopefully.
Well, and seeing it at surface and then not having it weathered away.
Yeah, no, it was covered, so a lot of good hand trenching and stripping, a lot of muddy days, playing in the mud with pickaxes and rock hammers and stuff like that. So
and you sent me a photo. You said that you'd made the hike down to the drill site.
Actually, I made it up. I went up, funny enough. So I was down there. I was getting the next pad ready for drilling. So we were just kind of clearing some scrub brush and siting the pad and picking a spot for the helipad. And then we hiked up to check out the core, which that was about 600 meters on about a 25, 30 degree slope. So that just kind of goes to show the extent that we're testing now at the Williams zone. So we're really trying to draw out the strike length here and try and figure out what we have. We've had Evrim Resources obviously surrounding our project. They've been talking to us quite a bit. They've been very interested in how our work's been progressing in the drilling, and they've been actively prospecting and mapping and sampling on our shared border. I think that they're planning even to come back up there. They've already done a 2-week program on their project. I hear rumblings that they're coming back up next week and going to do some more work, and they might even try and drill a couple targets that are on the border of our projects by the end of the year here. So if that happens, I think that's good for everyone.
Yep.
That's exciting for us. It means that, what they've been seeing, they're under CA, by the way, with us. So what they've been seeing from our initial core and results that are starting to come in now is exciting them a lot, for them to come back up and to kind of spend more money than they had anticipated spending this year. So it's really
well,
good.
They, with the attention they've received and the street throwing some money at them, I think they maybe have more money than they expected themselves. The access to more money, and good to see them.
Well, they worked out a really good deal with Anto. So Anto's funding all the work at the Ball Creek project there. So Anto's earning in. So it's all Anto money. So I don't even think they're depleting their treasury. So they're happy.
Yeah, wonderful. I was surprised to hear you say just the steepness of the slope at the Williams. Not to take you back to the field there, but I was surprised to hear you talking about 60 degrees. When I poked around in there on Google Earth, it seemed like it was flatter.
So you get your typical kind of U-shaped valley. So down where I am, where that picture came from, it's actually quite flat. It's fairly sprawling, kind of the ends of these talus slopes and these fans and cones. It's actually quite nice and flat. We barely had to. The drill pad was basically located on a flat surface, which was nice for the pad builders and drillers were happy. But once you start going up to the peaks, it turns very steep relatively quickly. So we were kind of testing the northern extent there of our property boundary and up there on the Williams. So that was definitely the steepest part of the project that we've drilled the Williams from by far.
And you were down slope from the surface showing.
So where I was, where that picture was taken, I was downslope from the original discovery, which was in the trees, kind of just to my right, your left, if you're looking at the picture there.
Okay.
And then, where we were drilling up there, that was probably about 600 meters away from that initial discovery, surface discovery. So
and 6 holes into the Williams too, you mentioned at the outset.
Yeah, so we'll have by the end of the season here, we will have drilled at least 6 holes into the Williams zone. We completed one. I think the longest one we've completed to date there is 605 meters. So we got some good meterage out of these Hydrocore 2000s, these heli-portable rigs. I was very impressed with that. So that, Hydrocore 2000 is named that because it's, kind of max depth is about 2,000 feet. So 605 meters, I believe, is just over 2,000 or just under. I'm not very good with
it's right there. Yeah, no, it's right. It's right there.
So yeah, congrats and a pat on the back to the drillers for keeping the footage up per shift and being able to get down that deep with the rigs. So we're trying to go as deep as we can and keep one foot in the mineralization for the most part and and try and get as much information as we can possibly get from these holes, right? So
to that point, this photograph again of the water coming up. Recently heard explorationists in Arizona talking about collecting the fines or the heavies from even pre-collar, or drilling through some of the overburden hard rock setting. Just having a bucket out to collect the heavies from that are coming up with the water from the drilling. Little stuff like that just goes a long way to giving you more data and more information to look at.
And that's basically what we're doing right now is we're just trying to collect as much data as we can because there's potentially a really exciting story here, and there's going to be a lot of questions that we're going to have to try and answer over the winter here. So the more data we can collect, the better. And we'll have a very busy fall and winter. And speaking of collecting data, we also had some geophysicists on the project last week, and we did a couple of IP lines over the Williams zone and down slope of it. So we are waiting for some results from the geophysicists, and hopefully we'll have those soon, and we'll be able to get those out to the shareholders and the market here. On the geophysics, what we did originally, the backpack mag survey where we got that nice bullseye anomaly, the depth of investigation on a backpack mag survey isn't very deep, right? Depending on what the rocks are underneath, it could be, as shallow as 20, 30, 40 meters, right? So you're not really getting a nice picture of what's happening at depth. With the IP we were running, the lines were over 2 kilometers long. I think one was 2.8 or 2.4 kilometers long. So the depth of investigation on a survey like that, we could, with some clarity, see to probably about 600 meters depth. So, that's really what we're interested in. We want to see where this thing goes, because kind of right now, figuring out the structure, the orientation, the dip, all these things are kind of paramount for us.
And it was several lines kind of closely stacked?
So they weren't they were 250 meter spacing. So because it is a porphyry target and a larger target, you don't want to have the IP lines too close together. We were impeded obviously by the creek a bit. I don't think you want to be doing IP through and across the creek. I believe it messes with the electrical conductivity a bit, but I defer that to the geophysicists. So we kind of just paralleled one right along the bottom of the creek, and then did one about 250 meters upslope, kind of almost through the middle of the mag anomaly as well. So yeah, there might be an opportunity to do some more here a bit later in the season, but we wanted to get at least a couple lines shot so we could get some, good data as to, where to drill next and what this thing is actually doing at depth, and then correlating it with the core that we're receiving. So hopefully, we'll be putting out some really nice cross sections that go along with this IP survey and the drilling.
Yeah. Well, the days are getting shorter already, right? So it's important to.
It's funny, as I was driving back to Terrace this week, the leaves were already starting to fall off there. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
So everything was going golden and orange, all the kind of alders and stuff and deciduous trees. So it was, pretty surreal. I'm like, it's August 6th or 7th, and, these trees are packing in already for the year. Now, mind you, they obviously, the days are getting a lot shorter there. But the heat, it's still very hot and dry. It's unusually hot and dry up there right now. I'm sure you've heard of the fires at Telegraph Creek and what's going on up there. It's actually, we really need some rain up there, because that part of the world is, it's a rainforest, and it hasn't really been raining very much. There's been some sporadic little showers, but it's been mostly, 30-degree heat and hot for a few weeks up there. So hopefully we get a little break in the weather here, and all those fires get out, and everyone can return safely to their project and to their homes.
Well, and if you guys could, who knows if October, is open to you there and at Royale and everything else. I can just see you guys doing field work in November even too, and just.
Well, Royale is a different animal. Royale, we can go all year. We can go in the middle of January and drill there, which is nice. We're not going to be doing that on the Hank until we have, a bona fide reason to do that. So, we'll last year we worked till the beginning of October. We got a late start. We didn't start grilling till about actually today. 1 year ago on the Hank. So, So we started about 5 weeks late, 6 weeks late last year. So this year it was nice to start, at the beginning of July and to be able to get the full season. So we'll once we get these results, we'll take a very careful look at them and get them released to the market and to the public, and decide whether or not we're going to extend the campaign or just take the data that we've learned and come back bigger, badder, and stronger next year. So that's still to be determined.
Keep the hammer down, and quality of execution of the program is paramount too. It doesn't sound like there's been any disruptions or anything like that for you with your planned work versus what you've accomplished.
Yeah, we had a couple hiccups with drill 2 getting going, needed some parts, a few little things like that. But other than that, everybody's worked really hard to keep everything going smoothly, and we're firing on all cylinders right now. Yeah. Setting records in meterage and footage on the shifts. So it's all good. Drillers are happy. We're happy. So just the only problem is until we actually get the results, it's hard for us to expand the drill program, especially on the epithermal side, where we're going for the high grade gold hits, because it is disseminated. It's you can't see it in the rock, in these clay altered rocks. So that's where it becomes a bit more tricky, right? The Williams zone is a bit easier. You can see copper mineralization, you can't see the gold, but there's a fairly consistent ratio, it seems, like most deposits, right, on the copper to gold side of things. So
and the XRF runs, at surface, right, zapping core as it comes out. It's pretty high.
Yeah, it helps, but you're not seeing any of the precious metals with the XRF, right? So gold, silver.
Yeah, good signs, and I guess we'll be watching for the alteration and for the alkalic porphyry type, getting into some of the more subtle details there. I think it might have been we talked about platinum PGMs in a porphyry. That's an idea that's kicking around for me. I've heard that they exist in BC, so fingers crossed. Please assay for platinum and palladium.
Yeah. Well, we're just hoping we have like another red Chris on our hands. So, if that happens, we'll be happy.
Well, and again, strategic alliances with Evrim and all that I see coming down the line too. They're a great neighbor and very generative group. They're listed.
Oh yeah, they're a good group of guys, and up north we always help out our neighbors and do whatever we can to assist the other companies and people working in the area. And we've developed a really good relationship with Evrim and Antofagasta. So we're looking forward to collaborating more in the future.
Well, and amazing that we do that to some degree in Vancouver. On the street here as well. My pleasure to get a recording here with you and share it publicly.
Yeah, thanks, Peter. It's always a pleasure. Look forward to doing this again soon once we have some results out.
Thanks, Mike.